Hi, Ajouna. Welcome to this chat and this interview.
Hi, Naran. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So we're here to chat a little bit about the Who is in Awareness Intensive process. So, would you like to share what did it meant for you to say yes to take part on the process? What happened? What brought you to the process?
Wow. Um, Actually, I participated 2 years ago. It was my first and only time. And like a lot of things in my life, I was just called and curious um, about what I had seen. The description, um, very simple description of the process. So I had not really had a big idea on what I was going to experience. And I like that. I like to not know too much about what I'm going to experience and really come fresh and just open as much as I can. Of course, we always have some expectations, but I was working on that before coming into the process. Um, so, yeah, it was curiosity and just inner calling, but also some kind of yeah, like anything new, a little bit like anxious, not scared, but anxious about like what's gonna happen. And I had like an intuition that it was gonna be pretty powerful and intense as an inner experience. So there was that I was trying to calm as much as I could um, before. So, yeah, that was the state of mind I was in when I connected to that process before going into it. Um, yeah, really adventure, discovering, and just go with the flow as much as I can.
Mm-hmm. And what made you say yes? What happened when you received the invitation and you were like, "Oh, well, there is that. Why would I participate into something like that?"
Um, I think I was ready. Um, yeah, it's hard to put in words. The calling was just too strong, even if there was the anxiety that was there, it was not enough to stop me. So I was like, okay, it means I'm ready
Mm.
to go into that journey. And yeah, so it did feel quite natural just
Mm.
to say yes. It was not like that much. Um, I was a little bit anxious because it would have been the first time that I could not speak to my daughter for a few days. So that was
Mm-hmm.
one point that was a little bit part of the anxiety, like not saying good night and how are you doing? But
Mm-hmm.
in spite of that, yeah, that was like one of the key points to my anxiety. But yeah, I'm like, it's okay. It's just a few days. So
Mm-hmm.
after I got my head around that, it's like, let's do it. Let's go.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So, what were you ready for when you said like, "Well, I was ready for this process"? What were the expectations, or what was
Mm.
happening? Mm.
I have always been called to introspection. I love like taking the time to take a step back and really like try to see what's going on. There are different ways, of course, to do that. And all my life, I have been drawn to these different ways to do introspection. Um, and yeah, I have arrived in a point in my life where I was thinking a lot about um, like really a meditation retreat. There are so
Mm.
many different kinds. There's vipassana. I was starting to look at it. Um, and yeah, this arrived on point, and I'm like, okay, it was not the 10 days, without my daughter and everything. Like, this format, a few days seems a good way to, yeah, go into a really meditation retreat. And I also love the fact that was also is silent. Um, in spite of the process when we do the koan within where we speak, the rest is in silence. So that also really spoke to me. I am drawn to silence. Uh, Naturally, I'm not someone that speaks a lot. I have my inner world and it's okay. Like I'm good in that. So I liked it not to speak too much. And yeah, I was drawn to that part also. Yeah, so introspection, taking a step back and looking at, as Ramya likes to say, our inner landscape, which I find very beautifully put. Um, yeah, with all the challenges that it comes with, that I'm aware, I was a bit aware of because of the different practices that I have practiced for a long time. So yeah.
Hmm. So
Mhm.
what happened? What happened during the process, and what did you find out about yourself, if you want to talk about it, or what were the challenges that in the moment you said like, okay, yeah, I knew that I might face this, and now I have the opportunity to really be with that.
Yeah, well, I think it's important. I was talking with a friend not long ago. We were talking about, well, she was talking a lot about this idea of staying curious about everything, about ourselves, yeah, about life, others, but yeah, about ourselves and how there's so much we don't know in general, of course, but especially about what ourselves, what we are with ourselves 24/7, but there's so much mystery. There's so much we don't know that is there. So, wow, during the process was the process I feel in my experience helps me to shed light on so many things. I'm like, oh, I didn't see that was there. Oh, wow, this is there. Whoa, okay, interesting. Let's go deeper. And you realize during the process, there's so many things to see. You can go deeper in every part of yourself. Um, and by also shedding light, like bringing the unconscious in the conscious part, like when we talk about something, it takes it a little bit out of us, and I feel like it releases some kind of pressure that was there, like when you you have something you're not talking about it, and then someone asks you the right question, and bam. So that's how it felt.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it really it is like, if when talking about it allows us to get in touch with it, and also peer well go deep with it, because the more once it's in the present moment, once it's very very close and we have to speak about it, we almost have to dig a little bit more into it. Yeah, that was very well
Absolutely.
expressed.
Mm.
And it's also part of the process to use the communication as a tool to be able to meet that. Yeah.
Absolutely. The speaking does bring another dimension where you really have to work on using like the the most like close to the experience, words and formulation, like hard to articulate some things that we are not necessarily, I'm talking about me not necessarily used to talking about, like
Mm.
even sensations. Is it emotion? Is it a mix of, there's something going on,
Mm-hmm.
but who is in really creates this space to just, okay, there's something, so let's look at it as you were saying, and then let's try to put words on it, which is, it can kind of, depending on which angle you see the experience, at moments it can be like a game of like, okay, how are we going to, yeah, un jeu, like play with it. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
this word, no, it's not this word. Let's, this word, I think I'm touching it a little bit more, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it can be fun.
Totally, totally.
Depending on what you're touching, and yes, sometimes is more intense emotionally, but yeah, it's fun also to put words when it's more intense, and
Yeah.
wow, and it's also like creating space to be creative about how you see yourself, how you talk about what's going on inside. Because I think in the day to day, we use unconsciously, I say we, but it's my experience, of course, um, always the same words, the same formulation, like, poo, 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 because everything goes so fast and we don't have time to really sit and really, really, really take the time, listen, put the right words, adjust, all that takes so much time. So it's a precious, precious time space experience to really go deep into ourselves that are, we are so like, is the unknown. It's the unknown. As much absurd as it can appear, yeah, in the everyday, we're not really doing that that work. Even if sometimes we think we're doing it, but not at the same level of deepness, I
Mm-hmm.
feel.
Yeah, that was really well said.
Mhm.
Um, so what happened? What happened? What did you um, what happened after? What happened after that digging in and going into the depth of your experience? Was there a moment in the process that you said like, "Oh, okay. Yeah.
There's so many moments. There's so many moments where like, wow, I didn't realize that. Like, yeah, realizations. Yeah, realizations of like deep, deep hidden thoughts that I had, ways of seeing things, and yeah, unconscious, a lot of unconscious stuff that came up. And I'm like, oh, this is how I see myself, or this is how I see this situation, or my relationship with this person, or yeah, yeah, it's really bringing up deep, deep unconscious thoughts that have such a big influence and impact on how we live everyday lives, and we don't realize it. And then it brings a big shift because it brings you light to that. It brings you awareness to, oh, that was there. So now when I walk in life and I navigate this life, I know it's there. So when I'm doing things, I'm more like conscious about my own like mes bias, and angle mort, and some things you think are resolved. Oh, that's past. over. Yeah, I'm done with that. I really processed that. And then you're like, oh, maybe not that much. Maybe there's still some things to clean, to just let be and exist and watch, be curious about it. And in a way, when you do that, poof, it just evaporates. It's like some things just want to be looked at and listened and feel they're it's okay that they're there and acknowledged, and then all good, it's okay. I feel
Mm.
seen.
Mhm.
Mhm. Otherwise, they try to talk to you. Oh, it hurts here. And then you're like, nothing. That's not important. And then, yeah, they do. Ils te poursuivent, ils restent avec toi. They stay with you and then create also all sorts of things and you don't understand. But who is in, I feel, yeah, brings up those things that are really, really hidden, hidden, hidden.
Mm. Mhm. And it also helps us bring through that process, brings clarity to what it's already here. It clears it up so we can actually see it for what it is.
Absolutely.
Mm. Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, what happened after your experience at the retreat? What happened? How did you brought all that that cleansing and clearing um, into your life? Like, did you notice like once you were back, you're like, okay, yeah, something definitely shifted.
Yes. Um, I think very naturally, like because my energy shifted and moved, like everything moved so deeply, so much at different levels, different layers. What I found very interesting is that the people around me that I'm living with started shifting as well without me doing nothing. Just being in the house with my husband, my daughter, like I felt like the whole, yeah, people around me also were shifting or maybe I don't know. Like everything shifted. I don't know how to say. And it's what is important, I think also is that this practice is ongoing. It's an everyday thing. Like, yes, it's really intense when you do a retreat, but you can really continue this like every day in your everyday life, which I try to do as much as I can when I can. But it's like it continues naturally to unravel and, yeah, really having an impact, not just on me, but I feel also on the people in my environment, on the environment, on, yeah, my perception of my environment, my connection to everything around me is different. Yeah, it shifts in another way. My connection to this world. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can, from what I am hearing, it's like if you would receive like a gift of like a matchbox, and then you can use the match and light it up whenever you want, it's necessary or not, or it just happens on its own. It lights
Yeah.
up
Mm-hmm.
suddenly. Hmm.
Oh, yeah. And what I love about this practice is it's everything and nothing at the same time. Like it mobilizes every part of your being. When you're there, you're there. Like through all your being, your soul, your physical body, you're there, you're here. But at the same time, it's very simple. There's not much going on. You're there, but there's nothing. Yeah, it's like that kind of I don't know, experience. Yeah. yeah, less mind,
Yeah.
more of all of it. Yeah.
So, what would you what would you want if there was something that you would like to say about almost like why would somebody do this if you had to, let's say, invite, but not necessarily
Mhm.
invite, but just it's like what would it be beneficial to do this?
I think any seeker that likes to try to understand more deeply the world, oneself, it's just another tool to understand or see more deeply what is there, what is inside, and yeah, helps to navigate this world with a little bit more awareness of what's going on with oneself and maybe with around. But yeah, mostly it's really a, a deep meeting, an intimate meeting with oneself. Yes. And yeah, since we are all mirrors of one another, it's also a deep meeting with the other, you know? So if you, yeah, and it's love. It's if you love, it's giving love to yourself, giving time to take care of each part of yourself. And it's also giving love to the other to be able to cultivate that level of um, listening, l'écoute, like deep, deep. And that is so precious, especially in our world where everything goes so fast and we don't take the time. It's the art of listening to what is there. And it's not easy. It's not easy, but it's beautiful and it's definitely worth it. Um, yeah, and cultivates an open awareness. You know, I remember it's beautiful experience at the end of the retreat, like one of the last hours of Who is In. We were in this little cabin, little, yeah, the house, shed, beautiful shed, and big. I had the impression I was really connecting with the forest behind. There was a forest outside, far behind. And I was connected to that space inside, but also to the les arbres, the trees, and it was, yeah, there's when you touch that, it's very, I'm talking about, I want to cry. It's very moving. It's very moving to feel connected that much to your essence, right? Because we are nature, because nature in us is the same, I feel there's so much, we are nature, we are part of it, and we're all connected to something, we're all connected together through something. So I feel like it's opening up that tunnel of connection, or however between all of the human life and beings and nature, and it's very touching and moving when you access that. Yeah, but before, like in my experience, before I touch that, I needed to clean the gaze. Like one of my teachers, he says, nettoyer le regard, and be as empty as possible. Like really just like I said, simple there. That's it, but it's not that simple at the same time to get to that level of just nothingness and just like, yeah, And thank you for doing this because now it makes me go back in that space and it feels great. And yeah, so that is what I would say.
Mm,
Mhm,
thank you, Ajuna,
mhm,
for sharing the precious moments and your experience, of course, from the
mhm.
whole
It's a pleasure.
process. So, yeah, thanks again for accepting this invitation, and that was a really nice end. So let's just leave it there
Okay.
to have it. Thank you so much.
Mhm. Thank you so much, Naran.